I'm Alyssa Lane, and welcome to the LifeKraft podcast. LifeKraft is passionate about helping you live your everyday life better by sharing inspiration, awareness, and tools to enable you to create a fulfilling life. The holiday season can be a time filled with fun and connection for couples, but research has shown that this time of year can be the most stressful for even the healthiest of couples. So we asked you, the LifeKraft community, what you would like some help with when it came to your partnerships during the holiday seasons. And in this episode, relationship and life coach Leah Sefor shares some valuable insights into clashing holiday traditions, where to spend the holidays, how to show up with more compassion and understanding towards your partner, and so much more. Enjoy the episode. Leah, welcome to the LifeKraft podcast yet again. Busy with our holiday series so that we can just navigate this holiday season in the healthiest, most authentic way that we possibly can. I'm so happy to have you back. Today, we're going to discuss the holiday season and partnership, whatever that looks like for you. So I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Always wonderful to be here.
So I asked a bunch of our community and my own community questions in regards to what are things that they struggle with when it comes to partnership and the holiday season. Because it seems like whether you're dating, whether you're engaged, whether you have been married for a while, that things do come up. And a lot of people I've noticed in the self-development kind of mindset have been quote unquote working on themselves, growing, evolving throughout the year. And then they come to a point where they realize, I don't think I need to, and I don't think I want to spend my holiday season with my family this year. And that brings up a whole bunch of things. And the family's reaction isn't great because it feels like this time of year you have to spend time with family. And so many of the people that sent messages said, we're newly engaged. We just got married this year. We want to create our own little traditions. We want to have our own time before we just jump back into the family dynamics. How do people communicate that to their families effectively and stand their ground to create the experience that they want to have?
Well, I'm a big fan of blasting tradition. Most of the time, I think tradition is just manipulation from dead people. Really, I do. I think it's like generational expectation that we have to keep perpetuating these yearly rituals that actually nobody enjoys. I feel like this about turkey. I don't get turkey. It's tasteless, it's dry, it's horrible meat. Nobody really enjoys it. You have to smother it with cranberry sauce every year. I'm like, so our family decided 3 years ago, we are done with turkey. We will have chicken, we'll have gammon, we'll have lamb. But like, can we actually have a meal that we enjoy eating versus this thing of like Christmas has to be turkey meat? So I think we've got to look at these traditions that we keep perpetuating for what? It's stressful, especially for the host, especially if you're traveling to go and stay with the host. Then they're hosting people in their home for a week. They've got to prep food. They've got to make sure that everyone is happy. Why do we put this pressure on each other for what? Some idea that, Christmas time is family time. It doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. We make a lot of time throughout the year to do family time. Can we just take the pressure off Christmas? It's taking strain. And I don't really actually ever work with anybody in January who has had a good December.
Yes.
I mean that. I never see people coming into my practice in a January going, oh, I had the most amazing December. It was awesome with my family. We had such a good time. No, we had no more fights. The family was stressful. We all had to be on our best behavior. I couldn't relax. I had to be up in the morning doing what the family wanted to do. Like, actually, it's become this like miserable, duty-bound, obligation-bound thing. Now, I'm not dismissing the people that have wonderful times, but guess what? Wonderful, happy people don't end up in my coaching room. So, of course, I'm only talking through the lens of the people that I work with. I get that. But I just feel you have the absolute right to create what traditions work for you. And I love that. If you are newlywed, if you've just had your first child together, whatever, this is your right to break whatever traditions no longer work for you and to create new traditions that absolutely mean something to you. And what does Christmas really mean to you? Because what it really has just become is about presents. That's what it's become for most
and
people.
Eating. Yeah.
So, and eating, giving yourself permission to eat crap on Christmas Day, then Boxing Day, then, it's just a few days until New Year's Day. I'll start my diet on New Year's Day. Like, stop it. Stop giving yourself to the worst of yourself because you can't be conscious about creating traditions. So how you communicate it to your family is exactly how you just worded it. You send an email and you say, we've really thought long and hard about this, and we are really wanting to create new traditions for our family or new traditions for our relationship, and we will not be doing Christmas with the family this year. We would love to see you, in January after everything. We will tell you all about our holidays and what we've done. But people put this guilt on, well, December's family time. No, Christmas is one day of the year. Stop putting so much on one day of the year, on one holiday of the year. We now live in an incredibly flexible work-life reality. You can take a long weekend anytime during the year to go and connect with family outside of an overpriced, overcrowded holiday that most people don't really enjoy.
That's very powerful. Now, you send out that email, and the response you get back from family might trigger one or both of you. So what I've heard a lot happen is the partners, the spouse, the wife and husband, the whatever your partnership looks like, will start bickering at each other, and it'll start a fight between them because the one will feel guilt and would want to go spend time with the family because the boundary has been overstepped and now they give in. But the other one might want to keep the boundary and say, no, we're going to do our own thing this year. How do you handle that?
Well, look, when you get into a relationship, it's really about reframing your priorities. And when you were single, maybe your parents and your siblings were your priority. But when you get married, when you choose a partner for your life, they become the number one. Correction. They become the number two because you are number one in your own life. Your partner is not more important than you. However, your partner becomes the priority. And you've got to stop letting yourself be guilted into having to have family time because it is your parents' need or your siblings' need. At the end of the day, your whole life is now with your partner, and you two have to commit to what your life together looks like. Now, if it is really important for you to see your family, then you can go without your partner. You can spend the morning with your partner, you can go and have lunch with your family, and you can have the afternoon with your partner. Stop forcing your partner to do family events that they don't want to do. And this isn't just about Christmas, this is any time. And it's a hard one because your family events have been your tradition for most of your life. I get that. But again, stop following tradition that doesn't evolve.
Wow.
Doesn't evolve. And what ends up happening is that the partner feels forced into not doing something they don't want to do. They're pissed off with you. They're resentful towards the family. And let me tell you that pissed offness and that resentment is going to last for weeks, maybe even months after that single family meal. Is it really worth it to prove some point that's not relevant? And you, as a partner, if your partner comes to you and says, I don't want to spend family with Christmas with your family, you actually have to ask yourself why. What are you being unconscious to? What are you pretending not to see about how your partner is treated or spoken to by your parents that is unacceptable? And stop making excuses for toxic behavior because it is your parents or your siblings. If some part of that is making your partner uncomfortable being in that space, you need to wake up and pay attention to that. And stop just saying to your partner, but we've always done it, but it's my family, but I love them. Nobody's saying you don't love your family, but your partner comes first. So prioritize that.
That is so powerful. And it leads to 3 of the questions that I got. I can't believe I got 3 messages like that. But there were 3 people who said, I'm not mentally strong enough this year to go and be with my family. I've communicated it with my partner. They want to be there for me, but they want to go to their families. because they are not in the mental space that I am. But this year's been rough.
Yes.
I am drained. I can't take the dynamic. I can't take the trip. I know the one girl said she can't take the long trip. And my heart just broke for them because I have been there, and it's just too many people, especially the introverts and ambiverts among us. It just drains your energy and you feel guilty. Now you're struggling mentally and you're feeling guilty and your partner is kind of upset with you. How do you communicate that in a good way?
I think we've got to maybe not think of a good way. I think just how do you handle it, full stop. Because there might not be a positive outcome for this. There's not always a positive outcome. All there is the truth. I think we can all relate to the burnout right now. Every human being on planet Earth is feeling it. So there is that element, is that you are not in some isolated feeling here. Everybody is feeling it. So you can, again, don't put it on your partner and then expect your partner to deal with it with his family. Absolutely have the conversation with your partner and say, I've taken a decision that I will not be coming down for the Christmas with you guys. Can't do it. I'm completely spent and burnt out. It's not a space that I want to be in. And I will be communicating that to your family. I'm just letting you know. And then you can send the email, and you can send, I think especially this year, you can say, I'm sure all of us can relate to the fact that all of us are exhausted and all of us are burnt out. And and exactly what they said, I don't have the mental energy right now to participate in a family holiday. I love all of you. It's just not the place that I'm in. And I don't want to bring my energy to that space. So I know you're all going to have a wonderful time. I'm staying where I am. So you'll have a Christmas not with your partner. This also doesn't have to be what relationship is. You spend your whole bloody year together. I promise you, a bit of a holiday might do you both some good. Break from each other,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Let your partner go and have their holiday with their family. It's really fine. It's really fine. They don't get to experience their own family of origin very often anymore if you are married. Sometimes it's nice to just be with your family of origin without your partner.
Yeah.
So don't have this expectation that every family get together has to be all of you all the time, all together. Maybe it's just easier to not have that other energy that's around, and that's okay. Many people do not get on with their in-laws or their, what do you call siblings? In-siblings. I don't know. What do you call them?
We'll make the word in-siblings. I like
siblings and parents. Many people actually cannot get on with them. They're not their people. They're not their tribe. They don't relate to them. Stop trying so hard then. Just accept that, and you can just say, I'm not going to be coming. And if the family of origin kind of goes, well, what did we do wrong? Then you're not communicating clearly enough. Ooh. So communication needs to be, this has nothing to do with any of you.
Yeah.
I am not in a space to participate in this. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. And what I really need for my mental health right now is to have a week by myself. So I know that you will all have a wonderful Christmas holiday together. I wish you the best time. And I need this time for myself. And I know that you will all support me doing this for myself. You keep it for you. And if your partner gets pissed off, and you can say to them, you have to then manage your expectations of what you think a family get-together should be like. Now, just take a moment to think about this. As my partner, you are asking me to compromise my mental health because you feel guilted into having a family holiday. I'm not doing it. So please reframe where your priorities are right now in terms of what you want from me.
That is big. That is big. And I think they don't necessarily always do it consciously. I think a lot of times it's just that enmeshment and that tradition and that this is what we do this time of year. But I always like just thinking about, am I thinking for myself? Is what I am wanting to do now really what I want to do? My thoughts, my traditions, how I want to be perceived and go through this world? Or is it something that I just adopted from someone else? And what I want to just ease into is another question that popped up, a theme of my partner and I get along amazingly well throughout the entire year. But as soon as we get to either of our families, we start bickering and we start fighting. Why does that happen? And I could not even think about why that might happen. So I'm very, very curious about this answer. Why do people kind of get into a space of getting into little tiffs and bickering when they have spent time or are spending time with either of their families?
Like we spoke a little bit about this in the last episode of when you're confronted with your parents, you're confronting all of the unhealed childhood wounds within you. And when you are in front of your parents, you bring out aspects of yourself that your partner might have never seen before. You are behaving or speaking in a way that might be quite juvenile because you are now representing the wounded inner child that is emerging to find the attention, to find the approval from the parent. And then your partner is seeing this part of you going, what is going on here?
Who is
I've
this
never seen you
person?
speak like this before. Like, who is this person? So, and then that they will target, if they're not getting what they need or are searching for from their parents, they're going to turn on you. So remember that at a much deeper level, we really do marry our parents. You know, this is a conversation for a whole other time. But if you could just accept the idea or the possibility that energetically you are marrying your parents. So, you know, if I'm having a fight with my husband, a lot of the time it's really not my husband that I'm fighting with. It's the shadow of my father standing behind my husband. And it's the shadow of his mother standing behind me. So this bickering, especially when we are in a family environment where the parents are present, is that's the deeper stuff that's coming out in unworkable ways. And if I can't have the courage to face my father, I'm going to take it out on my husband. And if he can't have the courage to face his mother, he's going to take it out on me. And for a lot of the year, we keep that stuff suppressed. We are masters at suppression. We don't want to deal with the uncomfortable feelings. We know there's that niggling thing that hasn't been resolved since we were 10, but we just, you know, carry on. And we suppress and we suppress and we suppress. You can't suppress when you're faced with the reality of living in a home with people or being at the dinner table with the people that are part of the suppression event. So that is why your partner turns into someone else. That's why the bickering starts over holidays. It's not really about the two of you. It's the unresolved stuff going on with other family that isn't being dealt with. So it's projected onto you.
That's so powerful. That is so powerful. And I think we're not always conscious of that. And we just think, what is wrong with you? And what is wrong with us? And why are we fighting all of a sudden when everything was fine and we get along fine? And it's those childhood wounds just coming up and coming out all of the time. And in a moment like that, while you're kind of in the thick of it, how do you handle that? Because so many times we're aware of it now because we've listened to your awesome advice. So now we know when we get into that moment that this might be why we're kind of a little bit energetically charged towards each other. Do you separate yourself from the situation? Do you communicate it with them? How can you kind of diffuse the situation so that momentum doesn't build into full-blown fight?
So diffuse the energy. And this is where being on a holiday is great because most people go to the coast and there's nothing quite like walking barefoot on the beach with the sand and getting your feet in water to just completely ground yourself again and diffuse all of that hectic energy. If you are in the bush, if you can go through a walk through the forest, my thing is get into nature. However you can get into nature, do it. So when it's been a hectic day, say to your partner, let's go for a walk on the beach. And don't talk yet. Arrive, let's go through a walk through the forest. I just want to go down, to have a walk. Will you come with me? But don't talk in the car. Don't talk when you arrive. Just move in silence together. So be together, but stop talking because too much talking, people expect talking to resolve everything. And more than 90% of the way we communicate is non-verbal. So stop talking.
Wow.
Be present with each other. Go for a walk. Go sit on the beach. Pick up stones and shells. Get your feet in the water. And I promise you, within 10 minutes, you are going to feel your whole nervous system regulating. You're going to feel yourself breathing deeper. Your frontal cortex is going to come online. You're going to be thinking calmer. And only after that, if the space and if the moment presents itself, just own your stuff first. So when you open your mouth to speak, it is, I I'm not okay in how I've been speaking to you over this last 2 days. I don't like the way I've been handling stuff. I feel that I've been very triggered by a lot of things. I feel that I'm being very reactive, and I just want to say it's not okay. I'm sorry. And I really want to shift that. How are you feeling? So you're not saying, well, now you need to say sorry. Or like you've done, don't start sentences with you. Present where you are at, and then invite your partner to share where they are at. Then you are starting an empowered conversation of, I don't know why, it just like triggers me when I'm in the space with your mom. And I think she reminds me about this aspect in myself that I don't want to face. And now, you can have really enlightened conversations, but you definitely have to remove yourself from the flare up. You've got to calm yourself down, your whole system down, engage in conscious conversations afterwards.
That's brilliant. Calming yourself down and just regulating that nervous system is just great. You're just going to present your feelings, your emotions, your experience from a whole nother point. And then communicating with your partner. Yeah. I was taught growing up, you don't communicate those things with your partner because if you have a problem with, say, his father or his mother, you never communicate that with them. You keep it to yourself because otherwise it's going to make ructions between the two of you. And if you have a problem with one of his siblings, someone said something or you felt a certain way, you don't communicate that. And it took me a couple of years to get to the point where I realized he is the one person I need to speak to this about, but not from a place of you need to fix this, more of I'm having this experience and I am dealing with it. I'm working through it.
I'm having this experience and this is how I'm seeing you have this experience.
Ooh.
I'm observing that when you are in a room with your dad, like the side of you comes out. And I don't know if you're aware that it's happening, but it's really interesting to see how you are behaving. And like, can you talk about that? Like, what's going on with you emotionally in that moment when your father or your mother is doing stuff? In the way to invite conversation is I can make an observation, but I'm not doing it with any judgment at all. Okay, you always behave like such an ass when your dad's in the room. Like, stop being you're so immature. Don't judge what is happening. You can just say, Mike, I'm observing you in the experience as saying or doing this. It's really interesting because I don't see you behaving like that anywhere else. So I'd love to understand what's going on in your head. Like, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? What is being triggered in you? Like, just share that stuff with me, so I can support you in finding a way through this. Because your partner guaranteed is not aware that they're doing or saying that thing. This is a lifetime of a behavior between a child and a parent that is being triggered. He may not even be aware. Like, I remember, my husband is Afrikaans. So obviously I'm English. So, our whole life is English. We speak English to my daughter. But when we go on holiday to his family, and I remember the first time it happened, is that when we went to stay with his brother, him and his brother started talking. And I sat there completely dumbfounded because the voice coming out of my husband's mouth was not my husband. Because it was his family of origin, that he dropped an octave. Like, the voice went deep. He started speaking in a way with body gesture, like the behaviors and facial expressions that I'd never seen before. It was fascinating for me. This was just normal family time conversation. And I was like, I made this observation and I said to him, you become someone completely different when you speak to your family. Your voice sounds different. The speed at which you speak sounds different. Now, I'm not fluent in speaking Afrikaans, but I am fluent in understanding Afrikaans. I couldn't understand. Sure. I couldn't understand a word because they spoke in a way that only families can speak to each other. It was completely fascinating for me. And then when my daughter was old enough to realize that, she said exactly the same thing to him. She was like, Daddy, you speak so differently when you're with your brother. So we do behave differently when we are with our family, totally. But very often, and he had no idea. He was like, really? I was like, yeah, but I should actually record you so you can hear what he was oblivious. So I'm just saying, please be aware that your partners are oblivious to how they behave or what the deep triggers or wounds are in them with their own parents. So when you see it playing out, your part of being a supportive partner is bringing that stuff to the awareness so that it can be dealt with and let go. So you can just supportively say to your partner, I'm observing you behave like this. Did you know that that happens with you? I could even see that that triggered you. Were you aware that that was triggering you in the moment? And if they get defensive with you, you can say, no, listen, I'm not your dad. I'm not your mom. I'm your partner. And I want to support you with this because I can see it's hurting. I can see you carrying this. So let's unpack this and see what's really going on.
Brilliant. Brilliant, Leah. And what I want to encourage everyone to do is get the book. That's not what I meant, because of the different styles of communication. Would you quickly just tell us a little bit about this book? Because I think especially in how we communicate with our partners, it's so valuable.
Well, what's made me laugh is how many people have sent me messages saying that they've bought this book for Christmas presents. Not only that, but that they've highlighted specific messages in the book before they're wrapping the book for the present. I love that. A bit of passive aggressiveness for you right there. So my book is about communication. It's about understanding how we process reality, which is really important because as a family, you assume that your family see the world the same way you do. You assume that your family have got the same beliefs, the same values, the same morals, and the same ethics, and they don't. So you go in assuming that everybody should be on the same page because they're family, and I think you all know by now they're not. So this just explains how we perceive reality, how our individual perceptions are created. We talk a lot about listening in the book and about the common communication problems in the book. And I then go into great detail about the 4 communication systems. Now, we don't all communicate in the same way. We belong to a very particular system of communicating, which determines A, how we're going to hear other people, but B, how we then express ourselves back out to other people. And the 4 systems are the listener, the observer, the connector, and the analyzer. And even based on those names, you can probably already see that they are very different systems. And the book is very detailed in how you handle stress, what vocabulary you use, what your body language is, how you want to be touched, how you want to be engaged with, how you operate with children at home, at work. It's very specific to each system. And I've had a lot of people say to me, like, this book has helped them see their family members in a completely new light. Because what you always thought was just your family member being an ass was really the fact that they're just actually a particular system, and this is how they behave, and anyone in that system will behave in the same way. So it's quite eye-opening to realize maybe you're putting too much emotional charge onto how somebody speaks or behaves, when actually get a bit more removed, with a bit more objective, to see that there's a system at play underneath here. So that's why I wrote the book, was to help people understand each other better.
And I always think these systems are so powerful, not so that you put people in a box or label them, but so that you have a framework for understanding that there is someone out there that has an intake and an output of this reality that we are all living in that is completely different to yours. So different. So it's not a label. It's not like I'm putting my husband in a box. No, it is a tool that you can use to effectively communicate with your partner, to understand where they're coming from, to not put such deep meaning towards things that they don't really even understand that they're doing. So I think it's so powerful.
Exactly. Just a quick thing. I can say here that for the analyzers are the non-touchers of the communication order. Touch is actually quite uncomfortable for an analyzer most of the time. So they're not hand-holdy, sit on the couch and snuggle kind of people, It doesn't mean that they're not great with, intimacy, but it's a very kind of big mind switch that has to happen with analyzers when they know physical contact is going to happen. They don't mind doing it, but it's not a natural state of being for them, versus like the connector, where it's the major state of being for them is touch. So what a lot of people experience if they're in a relationship with an analyzer is they misinterpret the lack of interest in touch for meaning I'm not interested in you, or I don't like you. Because in their world, touch means like, love, attraction, connection.
Yeah.
So you've got to reframe what that means, because they do absolutely love, connect, and want to be there, but not in touch. It's not their way. People will misinterpret that stuff to the extent where somebody, and this has happened with me loads with couples I've worked with, where the partner's an analyzer and the other one's a connector, is that the connector will say to the analyzer, I think you're having an affair.
Because
you don't want to hold my hand and you don't want to touch me. So they will read that much into it. Whereas if you read the book and you understand the analytical system, you go, oh, that's why they don't. Oh, okay. No, now I get it. Now it's not a big deal. No, it's not a big deal. So you're right. People put way too much emotional charge into the smallest behaviors, which just exacerbates the situation unnecessarily.
Absolutely. This has been such a powerful episode. I learned so much. And I know with this book has changed the way that I speak with my partner as well. And I'm still practicing it. I always add that to him as well. And I'm like, I'm still practicing how to communicate effectively with you because I've been communicating one way for like 33 years. It's a long time. So my habit is not just going to switch in a day, but I think it's so effective, and I think it is something that is a great Christmas present. I must say, I'm just going to put that in there. So we'll put all of the details of where people can find the book, get into contact with you, learn more about you down in the description below. Leah, thank you so much for all of your insights today.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode and taking the time to invest in yourself and in your future. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with us by leaving a positive review or tagging us in a post or in your stories. Share one thing that stood out or inspired you to live your everyday life better. This helps us create more meaningful episodes for you to enjoy. If you're not already following us on social media, be sure to follow @LifeKraft for more inspiration and tools to help you live your most powerful life. And remember, you always have the power to craft a better life for yourself, and we are here to help you do just that. We'll connect again in the next episode, and until then, keep creating a life that you're excited to wake up to. We enjoy bringing you interviews from experts and everyday people so that they can talk about their experiences and share information, tips, and what has worked for them on their journey towards a better life. However, remember that the opinions or advice of our guests and myself, the host, should not be taken as personal, actionable advice and is given as general information and education only. Please always remember to consult a qualified professional before implementing any medical, financial, legal, or other advice that you believe might work for you. LifeKraft is not responsible nor liable for your decision when implementing anything you hear on the podcast. Please listen and act responsibly. The opinions of our guests do not represent the opinions or views of LifeKraft or Melissa Lane personally and are meant as information and general education only. Education only. Education only.